what is it about K-pop that makes it K-pop?
What makes K-pop K-pop is that it's Korean pop or popular music. Nailed it. Next question.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I think there's a lot of things that contribute to what K-pop is. The general answer, I think it's the culture around it. The culture of how artists are formed, basically. In Western music, the classic story is you independently make a hit, a song that becomes a hit or gains some kind of traction. A label finds you. They decide to back you. They provide you the resources necessary to bring your dreams to life, bring your creativity to life. And then the rest is history. K-pop artists are homegrown, right? You audition or you get scouted and the company trains and molds you into the artist they want you to become. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'll give you another example that is unique to K-pop, I think, is concert culture. I think what makes a K-pop concert very unique is even before it starts, one of my favorite things about a K-pop concert is just the vibe before the concert even begins. Waiting outside. You have fans who spend their time and hard-earned money to make little freebies, little photos, little stickers, put candy together, little gift bags, handing it out to other fans just so they can have a good time. They're not getting anything back. Most of the time, they're not selling these things. You know what I mean? And it just makes it a very unique experience going to a K-pop concert. Speaking of concerts, the nature of encore performances, I think, makes K-pop concerts also a very unique experience where they make it seem like the show is ending, yet we all know the show isn't ending and that they're going back. They're putting on their merch and they're coming out and they're giving us another 3-4 songs and just a more relaxed environment. It's awesome. I love it. And I think the biggest thing that makes K-pop K-pop is the unique relationship between fans and artists. I think you and I have talked about this probably off mic before. We talked about how if you and I met at an American artist concert, we would discuss what your favorite song is. What's your favorite song? What's my favorite song? And it kind of goes from there, right? We also discuss when it comes to K-pop, who's your bias? It automatically goes to the artist. K-pop fans are invested in the artist themselves on another level. I think the unique relationship between the fans and the artist is what separates K-pop and makes it a unique thing on its own.
Yeah. So K-pop, we really focus on the artists themselves. Whereas I think in like Western music, it's more about the music.
Yeah. Just think about the music. When we buy albums, we're not just buying the albums so we can listen to the music, right? We're buying for the photo cards, the photo book in them, the stickers or the extra little things that they put in those albums. And we also buy it, or in many cases, we buy multiple albums to get a chance to talk to our artist. And that sounds completely insane when you explain this to someone outside of the K-pop realm. I'm buying 15 albums or 10 albums or maybe just 3 albums to have a chance to talk to my favorite artist for 1 minute. You know what I mean? That sounds crazy, but that's the kind of bond that fans and artists have in the K-pop world.
Yeah, I agree, because when it comes to K-pop, we really focus on, like you said, the interactions with the artists, the inclusions in the albums. Whereas with Western music, it's more about just listening to the music, vibing. When you go to a show, it's just about being there. You don't necessarily care about where exactly you're sitting for the most part. Whereas with hardcore K-pop fans, it's like, we got to be as close as possible.
We got to be as close as possible. And, you talked about the seats. We also want the benefits. We want to wave to the artist or high five the artist, just to split second interactions, right? It just once again shows you the relationship. It's a different beast when it comes to K-pop. Is there anything we didn't touch on that to you makes K-pop K-pop?
I think you talked about pretty much everything when it comes to general aspects about K-pop. But you mentioned it so briefly that I want to reemphasize it. I think what really makes K-pop music, and I think this is something that JYP Park Jin-young really advocates, the separation that K-pop has versus other music is the training system.
Yeah.
And I believe that training system where these children, these teenagers, they go through years, multiple years of dance school, vocal school, even like PR training, things like that before they debut. I think that's the big thing about K-pop. It's very, you alluded to it a little bit earlier, that it's very manufactured.
Yeah. A lot of people use that term, but I also see it as it's kind of like you're going to college.
Yeah, you're studying.
You're studying the skills you need that you're going to use later on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that's the way I define K-pop. It's essentially what JYP defines K-pop. And the first K-pop company to do this was SM Entertainment. And they are essentially the pioneers of K-pop and the K-pop that we know today. So coming up on today's episode, we'll take a trip down memory lane and review the history of SM girl groups, including the debut of SM Entertainment's latest girl group, Hearts to Hearts. Welcome to Diaries of an MZ Generation, where we discuss Korean culture, music, and entertainment. This is episode 8. I'm Ellis Tan, and today is Friday, February 28th, 2025. As always, I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Justin Lee. How's it going, Justin?
It's amazing. Week 2 of Korea. I think I'm still in the honeymoon phase. We've done a lot of really cool things already. I mean, we have even more plans, probably bigger plans for the rest of our trip, but I mean, I've already seen entertainment companies, 15 years in the making that I finally lay my eyes on in person. But even just, the little things, just walking to a convenience store. I'm still, oh my God, I'm walking the streets of Korea to a convenience store. Oh, I'm getting ramen.
Ramyeon.
Yeah. We were on the streets today, just standing there. I was like, wow, just looking around, trying to take it all in, trying to remember to take it all in. So yeah, it's awesome. I don't even feel the cold right now. I remember you asking me this morning, aren't you going to be cold? I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll be good. The excitement is keeping me warm for now.
How about Korean? Have you picked up any Korean at all? Any words that may have piqued your interest?
I've discovered my favorite Korean word, actually. Do you know what mulgogi means?
Of course I know what mulgogi means.
Yeah, it means fish, like you eat fish, mulgogi. But I learned that, so mul is water, mul, and gogi is meat. So essentially it's water meat. Mulgogi. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this at least the last 3 days.
I do want to mention that tomorrow, March 1st, is Korea's Independence Movement Day. So it's a big holiday.
Okay.
I'm not really sure how they celebrate that over here. I was actually here last year during the same time, but I think it's just essentially a national holiday. But yeah, happy Korean Independence Movement Day.
Happy Korean Independence Movement Day to you too as well.
So I do have a feeling that this episode could get a little long. So I want to get into things straight away. And we will be discussing the history of SM girl groups, starting with the first generation. SM Entertainment was one of the founders of K-pop as we know it today, and their first girl group was S.E.S, one of the top girl groups of first generation. S.E.S stands for C, Eugene, and Shu, the 3 members of S.E.S. So C in Korean is Bada, so her stage name was Bada, but her real name was Chae Sung-hee. We also had member Eugene, or Kim Eugene, and the youngest, Shu, or Kim Soo-young. But another group that a lot of people don't know that also was an SM Entertainment first generation girl group was M.I.L.K. And M.I.L.K. stood for Made in Lovely Kin. Yeah, so I think we mentioned in like the first episode that first generation K-pop was just a lot of creating acronyms and then making a meaning out of those acronyms. So M.I.L.K. was Made in Lovely Kin, consisted of 4 members, Park Hee-bon, Kim Bo-mi, Bae Yumi, and So Hyun-jin. So S.E.S started in 1997. Again, one of the earliest K-pop girl groups, actually the first K-pop girl group maybe. And M.I.L.K. debuted in 2001. Justin, you've mentioned before that you started listening to K-pop starting from the second generation. What do you know about either of these first generation SM girl groups?
I would say I don't know much, to be honest. S.E.S is a name I've definitely heard. Starting my journey in second generation means they have always referenced the first gen as, you know, this legendary status kind of thing. So S.E.S is a name I've heard in that kind of context. I've heard M.I.L.K before, but to be honest, I know much less about them than I do S.E.S.
All right, so list me your top 3 songs.
I wouldn't have that for you. Although, you know, I might recognize their songs, but I probably wouldn't even be able to tell you what song it is or if it's an S.E.S song. Maybe I just recognize the song. You know what I mean? But I know you started your journey earlier than me. So what can you tell me about these groups? What kind of memories do you have regarding these two?
So I told you before, I've told you personally and also in the first episode, that my favorite K-pop girl group when I was growing up and what got me into K-pop was a group called Pinnacle. And Pinnacle was like the arch enemy
Okay.
of S.E.S.
I see.
So I was not actually an S.E.S fan,
Okay.
but I did like some of their music. Obviously, I knew the members. As far as M.I.L.K goes, at the time, as most fresh young K-pop fans are, they really just go exploring, going to see like different groups, what they like, what they don't like. You know, all these new debuts, obviously they go check them out, I think. Now that was me. So I would check out everything. And obviously I would check out M.I.L.K because of course SM Entertainment was the largest entertainment company at the time. So I had to go check out what M.I.L.K brought. And I have to say, I was also not a fan of M.I.L.K.
Okay.
That is the case. So M.I.L.K actually had a rival as well. And their rival, I would say, was a group called Sugar.
Okay.
Have you heard of that group?
I don't know.
There was another group that came out around that time that you may know that was also kind of around their level that actually was successful called Jewelry.
Yes. Yes.
There we go.
I do know that name.
We got them. Yeah, so S.E.S, of course, was probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, first generation K-pop girl group.
Yeah.
And again, the arch nemesis of my favorite girl group, Pinnacle. But M.I.L.K was unfortunately not very successful for SM Entertainment. If I remember correctly, Park Hee-bon, who was the leader, she had like some back problems.
Okay.
And it really affected their promotions. So I remember as a child trying to listen to them, but it just wasn't resonating with me. That's really just my earliest memories. I remember really enjoying Sugar and really enjoying Jewelry as part of this like Generation 1.5 K-pop girl group. Trifecta. Those were kind of the big 3 for the Generation 1.5 for K-pop.
So you mentioned what didn't resonate with you. Regarding these first few SM groups, girl groups, what songs did resonate with you? As someone who's basically a blank slate, what would you recommend?
Yeah, so as far as M.I.L.K goes, I think they only had like 2 singles. So I don't think I can even recommend anything from M.I.L.K.
Okay.
But for S.E.S, I think I have to recommend their debut song called I'm Your Girl or 'Cause I'm Your Girl. You've probably heard that song.
I probably have.
Yeah, so that is their debut song. It is the first K-pop girl group song. And it's a classic. Even the dance is pretty classic. I would highly recommend you check that out. Just, even if it's just a K-pop history lesson, I think that one is a must listen to. You probably know Dreams Come True because aespa actually did a remake of this. A lot of people may think that aespa came out with the original, but no. They went back to the 90s, and this song actually came out in the 90s and was originally an S.E.S song. But my favorite S.E.S song is probably You.
Okay.
And when S.E.S first debuted, just like with all K-pop girl groups at that time, I think, everyone always had to have this fairy-like, innocent type of concept. But You was a stronger feminine style.
Okay.
And it was different at that time. And just musically, I really enjoyed that. That was actually around the time that Pinnacle was also coming out with a similar concept with a song called Now. Have you heard of that one?
Not by name.
Okay.
I gotta listen to it to see if I do know it, but what you just saying the name now doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, so You came out in around 2002, and I believe Now also came out at that time. And when those 2 songs came out, I was listening to those a lot. But yeah, I would have to say 'Cause I'm Your Girl, Dreams Come True, and You by S.E.S would probably be the songs that I would recommend.
Okay, noted. I will definitely take a listen to those once we wrap up. Actually, maybe we can do it together here in Korea.
Yeah, right after we finish recording, maybe we could check that out.
Beautiful.
Definitely no wiggle wiggle.
Let's give that one another try as well.
Now, we talked about these groups, S.E.S, M.I.L.K, and of course, first generation K-pop. It seems like ancient history at this point. However, a few of these members of S.E.S and M.I.L.K are still active to this day. I listed 7 of them earlier. C, or Bada, who you may know some of her songs. She's come out with solo. Eugene, Shu, Park Hee-bon, Kim Bo-mi, Bae Yumi, and So Hyun-jin. With the knowledge that you have, who do you think is the most popular woman out of these 7 that I listed?
It's got to be Eugene, right?
Really? Is that your final answer?
Well, now I'm...
So explain that thought process to me. Why do you think Eugene is the most popular?
I can't put my finger on exact examples, but I just feel like I've seen her name the most.
Just on like news articles?
Yeah.
All right. But you know who Bada is, right?
Yeah.
You know she was the leader and the main vocal.
Is that the
S.E.S.
same Bada?
That is the same Bada.
That's the same Bada?
That's the same Bada.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay. Does that change your answer at all?
Yeah.
So would you say Bada?
I would say Bada. I didn't realize it's the same Bada.
That's the same Bada. That's her. I'm so mad.
You know what? I think that's my second favorite thing I learned in the past couple weeks here in Korea. I don't know if it beats Mulgogi, but that's a crazy connection.
Well, you know, Mulgogis are in the Bada.
Oh my. Oh my gosh.
But let me tell you, do you know So Hyun-jin?
Well, now I'm going to ask you, do I know Hyunjin?
Have you ever watched a drama called Another Miss O?
No, I have not.
But have you heard of that drama?
Yeah.
She is the main female lead in that drama.
Okay. When did this come out?
Yeah, so that drama came out around like 2016, 2017. I can't remember exactly, but I just know that drama blew up. It was huge. And she is still doing a lot of large roles to this day.
Oh man, that's so cool. That's awesome.
One of the ones that I've seen her most recently in is the Netflix exclusive drama called The Trunk with Gong Yoo.
Okay.
But she's also in a bunch of other dramas like You Are My Spring, Record of Youth, Dr. Romantic. She's just in a ton of stuff. And personally for me, I think So Hyun-jin is actually the most popular woman out of the 7 that I listed earlier.
Really? Over Bada?
Over Bada.
Okay.
Yeah, because in my opinion, I feel So Hyun-jin has reached another level in Korea. And she's still continuing to produce these movies, these dramas as a part of the main cast, as a main lead. Like Bada, she doesn't really come out with a lot of music. So
Yeah.
she's still well known, but I don't think she was at the level of So Hyun-jin. I think So Hyun-jin has surpassed her popularity, in my personal opinion. I could be wrong, but this is just me gauging based on what I've seen in news and just a feeling, just my personal gut feeling.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, Bada's still kind of in the music industry where this is, and Hyunjin has kind of transcended that. So yeah, that makes sense.
It's different industries, right? Bada's mainly in the music industry and Hyunjin's mainly in the film industry. But yeah, I thought that would be a little fun trivia for
It's
you.
the same Bada.
I had a feeling that you would not realize who was who
goodness. Yeah.
and what they were doing today. So I wanted to present that question to you. But to me, it's kind of crazy that from M.I.L.K, who was really not successful at all,
Yeah.
to produce such a well-known actress.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool to me. Well, with SM's focus on BoA and Dongbang combined with Hee-bon's injuries and the group's failure to gain traction, M.I.L.K would eventually just fall to the wayside. SM would not debut another girl group until the second generation starting in 2005. The first second generation girl group that SM Entertainment debuted is actually one that maybe some people don't know, or maybe actually a lot of people might not know, was Chon Sang-ji-hee, or The Grace. So Chon Sang-ji-hee was supposed to be the female counterpart to Dongbang Shin-ki.
Oh, wow.
So Chon Sang-ji-hee actually means literally heavenly grace. Eventually, I think they realized that they wanted to rebrand or something, and they eventually just became known as The Grace.
Okay.
But they debuted in 2005 with the 4 members, Lena, or Lee Ji-yeon, Dana, or Hong Sung-mi, Sunday or Jin Bora, and Stephanie or Kim Bo-kyung. In 2007, SM Entertainment would debut their second generation girl group, Girls' Generation or Sonyeoside, and the rest was history. They would go on to become one of the greatest K-pop girl groups of all time. The members consisted of leader Taeyang or Kim Taeyang, Jessica Jung, Sunny or Lee Seung-kyu, Tiffany, whose real name was Stephanie Hwang or Hwang Myung, Hyoyeon or Kim Hyoyeon, Yuri or Kwon Yuri, Sooyoung, whose real name was Chae Sooyoung, Yuna, whose real name was Im Yuna, and Seohyun, whose real name was Seo Joo-hyun. In 2009, SM Entertainment would debut their third second-generation girl group, or what some may consider Generation 2.5, and the name of the group was FX. The group consisted of the leader, Victoria, or Song Chien, Amber Liu, Luna, or Park Sun-young, Sully, whose real name was Chae Jin-ri, and Crystal Jung, who is actually the younger sister of Jessica Jung from Sonyeoside. I assume that these groups are a little bit more up to your speed. Some consider the second generation of K-pop to be the golden era of K-pop. What are some of your fondest memories regarding these groups?
Well, actually, the Grace to me might as well be a first generation. They probably just a little bit too early for me to be super familiar with them. By the time I got into K-pop, it was kind of dominated by Girls' Generation when it comes to SM girl groups. So can escape that. I will say though, I am familiar with Stephanie because some of the things that she did after her career with the Grace intersected with a lot of the stuff I was watching already, right? So yeah.
Yeah, she's a big dance instructor.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with Stephanie. Just like the first generation groups that we talked about, you're probably more familiar with the Grace. What are some things you remember about them?
Yeah, so the formation of the Grace was, you may have not realized this, but for me at the time, it was almost like an all-star team.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because the leader, Lena, whose real name was Lee Ji-yeon, was actually a member of the SM duo Isak and Jiyeon. And that female duo, I was actually a big fan of when they were releasing music as a unit. So she eventually moved on to become the leader of the Grace. Dana was actually also a well-known artist at the time, pre-debut. Sunday actually had debuted in Japan first. And coincidentally, I was in Japan when she made that debut.
What?
And her first single was with one of my favorite Japanese groups. It was produced by a group called M-Flow.
Okay.
And
wow.
They're some of my favorite producers.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you already know.
Yeah.
She was an incredible dancer. She was well known for her dancing skills. She was, quite honestly, possibly one of the top dancers of that time before her injury. So again, for me, the Grace was like an all-star group.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the concept or mismanagement. I doubt it was mismanagement, but they just never really took off the way that some of the other girl groups did.
It's so interesting to hear that SM was trying to make a female version of Dobangshi. It makes sense why they would want to do that. And I also wonder if maybe that played into a reason why you said maybe they didn't take off as much as they should have with this lineup, when you're not making a group based on their own merits and you're just trying to make a kind of a spin-off, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, the group was supposed to be pushed as a vocal a cappella group, but again, like you said, trying to shoehorn them into that concept, I don't think that really worked for them, maybe.
Exactly.
And it's maybe a case of just trying too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have an interesting story about how I got into Girls' Generation, though. And it's funny that earlier you mentioned that your favorite girl group at the time was Pinnacle and that their arch nemesis was S.E.S., right? If I were to ask you who was the quote-unquote arch nemesis for Girls' Generation, who would you say?
Wonder Girls and 21.
Right. I feel like, to me, like 21 was just kind of a little bit separate from it. To me, if you were to say who were the arch enemies, it would be Girls' Generation and Wonder Girls, right? They're a little bit more comparable. And I was a big Wonder Girls fan. And, I was younger, so I fall into these little tribalism, the pitfalls of that. But what got me into Girls' Generation was Girls' Generation covering a Wonder Girls song. They had a performance where SNSD performed Tell Me As a Wonder Girls fan, I thought, let me see this. How can they do it better than my Wonder Girls, right? I watched that performance. That started it all. I became obsessed. That was the start of my journey with the Girls' Generation.
Did you know that I was also a really huge Wonder Girls fan?
I don't know.
That's crazy because for me, after Pinnacle disbanded, there was a group called Sia,
Yeah.
which became my favorite girl group. But then JYP announced that he was coming out with his girl group, Wonder Girls. And Wonder Girls was my favorite girl group for a very long time. I went to a lot of their concerts.
Oh my goodness. Welcome to the groups that Ellis has seen, but Justin has not podcast.
But yeah, I was a really big Wonder Girls fan. So yeah, I also had a similar feeling or sentiment towards Soneoshide, Girls' Generation. Because as you said, they were the arch nemesis of the Wonder Girls in a way. You know, obviously it wasn't like that in real life, but when you are a fan of a group, it's like back in the day with the boy groups, it was HOT and Jackies. With the girl groups, it was S.E.S. and Pinnacle. And then in second generation, it was Soneoshide and Wonder Girls. So it wasn't as hostile as it was in the first generation, but it was still, you know, quite a competitive time. Yeah, so I wasn't actually a big fan of Soneoshide.
Oh.
How about you? How big of a Soneoshide fan were you?
Well, when I finally did fall for them, I fell hard. I wanted to watch all the variety shows they were on. I think Girls' Generation may have been my introduction to a lot of variety shows because I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but you know, I said Big Bang got me into K-pop, which naturally introduces me to 21, but they weren't going on a lot of variety shows, right? So the content I was watching was very local to what YG just wanted to put out. But when I got into, you know, Wonder Girls, Girls' Generation, things like that, then I started being able to branch out to everything they were going, you know, Hello Baby, Strong Heart, things like that. We've mentioned the shows before, but
So She Subs.
So She Subs, I was so into them that I found So She Subs where they had almost all the content subbed. I scoured through that thing, scoured through those archives. I felt like at the time, they just seemed kind of like the epitome of girl groups. We talked about the term the nation's MC, the nation's this and that. I'm not sure if they were ever given that a title like that, but it felt like they were kind of like the nation's girl group when they would appear somewhere. It wasn't just, you know, their beauty was obviously a topic that always got brought up, but I also loved the relationship between the members. It was kind of one of the first times I felt like it felt real because there are 9 girls in this group. There's no way it's just love all the time. And for the first time, I kind of felt they weren't afraid to show that a little bit when they were on camera. And so the personalities of Girls' Generation is also kind of what drew me into them. But yeah, I tried to get into all their songs. I watched the shows. I remember it like it was yesterday.
So tell me, Justin, we're going to play this game.
Oh no.
Who is your Soneoshide bias?
Oh my gosh. Actually, for once in this podcast life, I do have an answer for you.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah. My bias is probably Taeyang. That was my bias. And then I'll go back to my habits. I always described her as 1.1. Everyone else 1.2. I love them so much. I love the members so much, but I will answer the question. My bias was Taeyang. Did you have a bias?
Yeah, of course. And guess who? Taeyang.
I was going to guess Taeyang because previously you said you gravitate toward leaders. So
yeah, leader, main vocal. Actually, when Soneoshide Girls' Generation first debuted, I was a big Taeyang fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really liked Jessica and Tiffany because they were also very strong vocalists.
Yes.
Also liked that they were from California. But like you said, Soneoshide, they have so many great members. It's one of those groups. I rarely change favorites. But Soneoshide was one of those groups that I was more Justin-like, where
Justin-like.
I couldn't decide between one member or another. So I would say that there was even a short moment where Taeyang fell from the top spot.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah. It was actually well after they stopped doing group promotions, but now Taeyang is back.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Jessica and Tiffany because it reminds me that's probably another reason I really liked watching them as a group. I mentioned 21 as one of the early groups. You know, back in those days, you had all these second generations, but you had SNSD and they had these two American members. So it was really cool for me as someone just, stepping into this culture, stepping into this genre, things like that, to see how these two Americans, just like me, interact in another country, interact in another culture, but they're also familiar with what is over here, right? So I'm kind of living through them at the same time.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously, as the years went on, things changed. I got to learn their personalities more. And while Taeyang was still pretty much at the top, I would say I grew to become a really big fan of S.E.S.M.I.L.K and Yuri.
Ooh, okay.
Because those members' personalities, they were on variety shows a lot, and
Yeah.
especially Sunny, and just like absolutely hilarious. Couldn't get enough of them.
Yeah.
So I was a really big fan of them. I'm still a really big fan of them. They're still among the top.
Yep.
So I would say my top three for a long period of time after my first top three, again, was Taeyang, Jessica, and Tiffany. But maybe within like 1 or 2 years after, once they started doing like a lot more variety shows, it became Taeyang, Sunny, and Yuri.
Yeah.
But recently, after Sonyashide ended a majority of their group promotions, Sohyun became an actress. And I grew to really like Sohyun a lot.
Okay.
Because her personality is almost a 180 from when she first debuted.
I remember her personality when she debuted. Yeah.
Yeah, when she first debuted, she was very
timid,
strict,
yes,
very conservative about herself.
You're taking me back.
Yeah. And it wasn't until she grew much older that she really opened up and she really grew out of her shell. And her personality is so endearing.
Yeah.
And she's just an awesome person. So I'm a really big fan of Sohyun now. So I would say right now, as of this moment, as of February 28th, 2025, my top three is probably Taeyang, Yuri, and Sohyun.
So I asked this guy his bias, and he gives me 3 names and an honorable mention. Who does this? Who does that?
I told you, very Justin like.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't just 3 names and an honorable mention. It was 3 names through 3 different periods of Sonyashide's career.
Oh my goodness. Make a decision.
I mean, that kind of, shows how much of an impact Sonyashide had.
Yeah.
Do you have any songs that you might recommend?
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to tell you to limit to 3.
3 songs?
3 songs.
3 songs.
You can set however parameters that you like. If it's not title tracks, if it's only title tracks, if it's B-sides, just give me 3 songs. Unless you really need to give some honorable mentions.
Okay, let's do 3 songs. The parameters are, I just want to give them. So, first one is Mr. Mister.
Okay.
I think that might be one of my favorite title tracks of theirs. It's not as cutesy and fresh concept as a lot of their earlier songs. They're wearing suits, things like that. I just love that song so much. There are lines that we get to hear different members take on the same line. I love that kind of thing. The second song I will give is Echo, which is a more cutesy, fresh concept kind of song. I wanted to I'll give you that diversity, which I feel like Girls' Generation in the early days, they were kind of known for that sound, right? It was fresh. It was the opposite of 21, I would say. Of like 2 sides of the same coin. And third, man, can I have 4?
You can have an honorable mention.
Okay. My third, I'm going to say Into the New World.
Classic.
Absolute
classic.
It's crazy to think that was their debut song. And to this day, girl groups are still covering it. I feel like it's a rite of passage to perform that. I've said that before.
During the protests.
And yeah, the song just taken another life on its own with other stuff, politics. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they were singing it during the protests after the impeachment of the South Korean president about a month ago or 2.
Yeah, it's insane. My honorable mention, I'll put this as an honorable mention because it's not really their song to begin with. The song is called Girls' Generation. I love that song so much. I can listen to it all the time and not get tired. Those 4 songs are my top 3.
Yeah, you mentioned the song Girls' Generation, the self-titled song, I guess, Sonyashide. I guess now is as good of a time to bring it up as any. SM is just big on doing remake songs of previous generations. Yes. And Sonyashide, or Girls' Generation, the name of the song, was one of those remakes.
But they're good at it.
They are good at it.
They're good at it.
The Candy with NCT.
Yes.
They got Dreams Come True with aespa, Forever.
Forever. Yeah. Well, okay. What are your 3 songs?
So I'm going to do 3 and an honorable mention.
I guess.
I had to limit you.
Okay.
I had to limit you because if I told you to just recommend songs, I knew you'd give off half their discography.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking about IU.
Yeah.
So I had to cut it. I had to cut it down. Otherwise, you start talking. You start stealing my songs.
Okay. Fair enough.
So the number 1 song I have to recommend is G.
Oh.
I think it is their best song to this day.
Yeah.
Actually, we just passed the G anniversary about a month ago. When that song came out, that is the song that turned me from a Sonyushide hater to a Sonyushide lover. I was a Girls' Generation fan from that moment forward.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, obviously, I had known the members since their debut and I was following them, but G was just an incredible track.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that song.
Love it.
I'm going to give my honorable mention now because it just kind of segues into that.
Okay.
Their next track was S.E.S.M.I.L.K
Oh,
Genie.
such a good song.
To go from the colorful skinny jeans of G, which lots of girls were copying,
Yes.
to go to the kicking of S.E.S.M.I.L.K, the military uniforms. It just showed the range of concepts that the girls could cover. And those 2 songs, I would say, are some of the most classic K-pop songs to this day. I mean,
absolutely.
Sonyushide, you already mentioned Into the New World, right?
Yep.
But one song that I really, really enjoy, and it was kind of a precursor to a lot of modern SM music.
Mm-hmm.
I Got a Boy.
I knew, the way you set it up, I knew what you were about to say. That is so true, though.
It's great to look at each other in the eye.
that is so true, though. At the time, I remember the conversations it started, let's say. But now, it looks like it was the blueprint to what we were going to get in the future.
Exactly. And honestly, I was one of those people who, when I first heard the song, I was like, what the F is going on?
I loved it.
What is happening here? What am I listening to? What has Sonyushide become? But here I am, maybe almost 10 years, maybe more than 10 years since that song came out.
Yeah.
Absolutely in love with that song. Oh, and the lyrics. The lyrics, I tell you, man, the lyrics. So I gave my honorable mention. The other song that I want to recommend is Kissing You.
Kissing You.
And it's kind of funny because you said like, oh, I'm going to recommend this and then I got to recommend an innocent one. So my innocent one is Kissing You.
Kissing You.
Because
the lollipops.
The lollipops.
What's more innocent than lollipops?
Exactly. It's the lollipops that got me. But also the lyrics. I told you I'm a lyrics guy.
Of course.
And the lyrics to Kissing You, I really like sweet love songs. And Kissing You it kind of embodies that entire sentiment.
Okay.
And absolutely love Kissing You. It's always one of the tracks I go back to when I just want to listen to some second gen music. What were your 3 plus 1 again?
My 3 were Mr. Mr., Echo, and Into the New World. Honorable mention was Girls' Generation.
The song Girls' Generation.
Well, speaking of which, I love that song. I hate searching it up because I have to type the name in twice. If I feel really lazy, I'll just put SNSD Girls' Generation. But,
right.
Anyways.
Right. So my 3 were G, Kissing You, I Got a Boy, and my honorable mention was Genie or S.E.S.M.I.L.K.
Beautiful. All right, now let's get into our honorable mentions.
I mean, I did like Sonyushide,
yeah,
but I'm still kind of largely a Sonyushide hater of their discography. I'll be honest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So this could be a discussion for a Sonyushide episode.
Yes,
so
sir.
I don't want to get into it, but a little teaser there.
Okay.
But regardless of how much I hate Sonyushide's B-sides, the group itself is still largely considered by many to be the GOAT, the greatest K-pop girl group of all time.
Of all time.
Do you agree with that?
I'll put it like this. You know how people have when it comes to basketball, Michael Jordan is considered the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Nowadays, you have people arguing for LeBron. Let's say LeBron, right? I would say Girls' Generation is in that Michael Jordan spot. But nowadays, you have some of these newer groups that, maybe the numbers are better. There's more competition now than there was when Girls' Generation were out, right? So it's a different playing field. So simple answer, I do agree. But I can see that the arguments now for someone to dethrone them, to take that place, the discussion is valid, right? So that's how I put it.
Yeah, I mean, just last week, we talked about Blackpink.
Yeah.
Who has set incredible records, broken through many barriers.
Yeah. The landscape is just so different now. Girls' generation wouldn't be able to touch those numbers back then. Some of them.
Yeah, like maybe if Girls' Generation debuted in 2020 or 2018, 2017, third generation time period, and maybe another group kind of set them up, paved the way maybe Sonyashide would be the one breaking those incredible records and numbers and barriers.
What do you think? Would you put them in that spot?
It's hard for me to say because I'm very biased.
Okay.
And I do not think that Sonyashide has the discography to back up that statement.
Okay.
In my personal opinion, I think Taeyang, as a soloist, has more good music than Sonyashide as a group.
Wow.
That's my hot take for this episode.
I don't know if I disagree because I'm like my mind is rolling through both of their discographies right now, but that is interesting because Taeyang has a lot of amazing songs.
So while I can understand that some people may say that Sonyashide is the GOAT, the greatest K-pop girl group of all time, because of their impact on the industry as a whole, starting from 2007, 2009, those years in particular. For me, just personal opinion, 100% personal opinion. This is my opinion. This does not reflect the opinion of Justin or anyone else. My greatest K-pop girl group of all time is TWICE.
When I was giving you the whole spiel about LeBron, and I would have put TWICE in that LeBron position. That was what was in my head as well. So
I think TWICE is greater than LeBron.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to get too much into it because this is an episode about the history of SM girl groups. But I think TWICE has just had an incredible discography, making multiple comebacks per year, almost every year since they debuted for the last 10 years, not just in Korea, but also in Japan and recently in America. And the consistency has just been absolutely amazing. And they've actually stayed together as 9 members over these last 10 years, 10 plus years, whereas Sonyashide did not have quite that luxury. So for me, that's why I think TWICE is the greatest girl group of all time. But again, this is like you said, it's a Michael Jordan versus LeBron discussion.
Yeah. And I think when you ask that question of GOAT K-pop girl groups, the fact that Girls' Generation will always be in that conversation says a lot to the impact that they had.
But TWICE is not even in my top 10.
Oh, man.
How about FX? So FX was the 2.5 group, the Generation 2.5 group. How did you view their career?
This is a hard one because we spoke a little bit about this off the mic. I feel like I view it very differently than maybe how it was. Again, I was getting into K-pop in second gen. FX is, you said it was 2.5, right? So to me, they were still this, it's another big SM girl group. I didn't gravitate toward them in the beginning. Their music just didn't resonate with me early on. They have a special place in my heart now. After I started getting to know the members, their discography started growing on me, things like that. But hearing your perception of their career made me rethink what their position was in the industry. So maybe you can shed more light on it. To me, they were just, it's another big SM girl group.
It's funny that you say that you got more into the music after learning more about the members. Because for me, I think FX was just pretty much all about the music.
Oh.
I think the strength of FX is pretty much all in their music. Songs like Hot Summer, New ABO, Four Walls, especially that album is, in my opinion, one of the greatest K-pop albums of all time. And of course, their debut song, La Chata. Those songs were so good, in my personal opinion. But I personally wasn't a big FX fan. And honestly, I think a lot of people consider FX to be a mid-tier group as far as sales go, as far as the success goes. And again, like I said, the greatest contribution that FX has brought to the industry isn't exactly the sales numbers or their impact to the industry, but just the great music that they put out.
So just to explain a little bit more about what I meant when I say, once I learned about the members, I started getting more into the music. It's probably more that I gave it another chance. For example, I was a big 2PM fan, right? and Victoria, the oldest member of FX, appeared on We Got Married with 2PM's Nikun. So I loved watching this quote unquote couple, two foreigners, once again, getting to know each other while figuring out life in Korea. So I'm learning about Korea at the same time as they are. And at the same time, I'm getting to know Victoria now, right? I was already familiar with Nikun. And in that show, FX would pop up. I knew Crystal was Jessica's little sister. And we already talked about how much I loved Girls' Generation. So yeah, that's why probably later on when I'm more familiar with them, I started giving their music more of a chance. And then I really, found the songs that I love and things like that.
And it's good that you did because, again, I think FX has some of the greatest K-pop music in the industry. And again, I'm not a huge fan of the members, and maybe that has something to do with their overall successes. Maybe just people weren't as big of a fan of the members. And like you said, K-pop is really about the artists.
Yeah, and it moves fast. So
it does move fast. There was a lot of groups that were debuting around this time.
Especially around this time.
Now we're going to ask Justin's favorite question.
Oh, no.
Did you have an FX bias?
Oh, no. Actually, in this case, I feel like at the time, I already mentioned their names, so I was probably going back and forth between Victoria. I also like leaders. I usually gravitate toward the oldest members a lot. I guess I like seeing them take care of their group and how they navigate that. But I think the answer would be Crystal. Not just because she's Jessica's sister, but I love her voice. I think she has an amazing voice. And we mentioned before that you watch K-dramas, not based on who's in it, based on other factors. I watch K-dramas solely based on who's on it. Solely based on who's in it. I want to have a familiar face to anchor me. And Crystal is one of those actresses that when she's in something, it'll be on my radar and I will most likely watch it. My Lovely Girl that she's starting with Rain is still one of my favorites to this day. She has an OST in it, so I can also hear her singing voice in it. So Crystal. I know you said you weren't the biggest fan of FX, but did you happen to have a bias?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, FX wasn't really one of my favorite girl groups, but I'm the type of person who just picks a bias just to pick a bias. So for me, Victoria was my favorite member of FX. I also watched the We Got Married series that you mentioned earlier with Nikun because, again, I was also a big 2PM fan and I really loved Nikun.
Yeah.
So I did like Victoria, but I didn't really have a strong attachment to any of the members of FX. So I would have to say, these days, I probably lean more towards Sully and Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as FX goes, do you have songs that you want to recommend? I already gave some, right? I already mentioned New ABO, La Chata, Hot Summer, Four Walls. Obviously, those are some of their biggest tracks. You may have some of those on your list, but can you recommend a few more?
I'll do a few more. I'll keep to 3. I'm going to say Chew is one of my favorites.
Do it, Chew.
Yes. I love when that hits my playlist. Beautiful. Mr. Boogie.
Oh.
It's not a wiggle wiggle situation. It sounds like a wiggle, but it's a great song that we haven't mentioned yet. And one that I don't think is mentioned a lot because it was much later in their career when it was kind of winding down is a song called All Mine. That's a song I really love and a song I recommend you listen to.
So as the initial contracts of Girls' Generation, Sonishide, and FX were winding down, SM would set out to debut their third generation girl group, Red Velvet. SM Entertainment would launch their third generation girl group, Red Velvet, in 2014, with a debut in 2015, and the 5 members consisted of Irene, whose real name was Bae Joo-hyun, Sugi, or Kang Sulgi, Wendy, or Son Sung-won, Joy, also known as Park Soo-young, and Yeri, or Kim Yerim. Red Velvet was a group that was created with 2 concepts, essentially the red side and the velvet side, where the red side was more bright and poppy, as well as the smooth velvet side, which was more of an R&B style. I know you were a big Red Velvet guy, right?
When we were talking earlier about Girls' Generation and FX, I said that they were these big, huge second generation girl groups. I'm looking up at them. I feel like starting with third generation with Red Velvet, now we're getting to idols that are my age, right? So now I'm not necessarily looking up at them, so it feels a little bit closer. I don't know how to explain it, but Red Velvet were actually my very first concert that was front row. I don't know how I got lucky with that. And it was the Red Velvet concert that I first experienced what people now call post-concert depression. I remember days after the concert, I just feeling, what is this? I don't know how to describe it. I just kept wondering, why do I feel like this? What is this? But yeah, I love their music. The B-sides are amazing. The concept that they came out with was very, very different than what we've seen before, even from FX, who were already different than Girls' Generation, The members, to put it simply, I am a big Red Velvet guy.
So, your favorite question, who's your bias then?
Oh, no.
I feel like this should be easy, no?
If I really, really had to pick, and I don't like to do it, but I would say Seolgi. Seolgi is probably one of my favorite idols just overall. She's, to me, in my personal opinion, she's one of the most talented idols. I think her being in a lot of other people's projects, other artists always wanting her to feature or just be a part of it in some way really speaks to that. And I guess I'll have to say it's Seolgi. Do you have a bias?
I mean, I kind of already knew your answer going into it. I just really wanted to draw that out of you. Actually,
you son of a gun.
Yeah, my favorite is also Seolgi. Gom Seolgi. She just has such an endearing personality.
Yeah.
It's so relatable. She was one of the first idols that, as far as I know, just like really showed an affinity for alcohol.
Oh, really?
Publicly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like on shows and stuff, she would just drink.
She's not afraid to. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, Sunny from Sonia Shide was also kind of like that, but Seolgi you'd see her like kind of tipsy too. So
I think with Girls' Generation, especially the image they were portraying, they were probably more hesitant to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe. But by the time you got to Red Velvet.
Yeah. Where Sunny from Sonia Shide, like people knew she could drink.
Yeah.
But people know that she can drink. She puts people down. Like she'll drink a lot. Whereas with Seolgi, she'll just drink like a glass of wine and she starts acting a little funny. Yeah. I was a big fan of Seolgi. I'm also a really big fan of Joy.
Okay.
I wasn't that big of a fan of her when they debuted, but as she grew older, got a better sense of her personality as she was growing out of her shell, I really became a big fan of Joy. And one of the fondest memories I have when it comes to Red Velvet is one of Joy's biggest fans just screaming to Joy about when she's happy, I'm happy. And I have to agree. But yeah, I really like all the members. I'm a big fan of Yeri as well. Wendy's voice, of course. So what was it about Red Velvet that grabbed your attention?
I think similarly to FX, it was the members, but a little bit in a different way. I actually knew about Wendy before Red Velvet debuted. I don't know how many people remember this, but she showed up on someone else's vlog. Let me tell you a story. Okay? The vlog is still up. I searched it up before we recorded. She showed up on someone else's vlog of their experience at a Cube audition.
Whoa.
How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think Cube and Korea Boo were working together for global auditions.
Okay.
Wendy had submitted an audition to that and she didn't make it. I think when you look into the comments of that vlog, it's thank you Cube for
another Cube failure.
Another for being Cube. Thank you Cube for being you. It's that we got Wendy in Red Velvet. We know why Seolgi caught my attention, why both of our attention, you know what I mean? And I actually really love the song they launched with. Happiness, because of Wendy's bridge. Solely for Wendy's bridge. That is worth the price of admission alone. And if we were to have an episode on, I don't know, just a very specific episode on best bridges in K-pop, I would at least submit that in the conversation. So the members, the music was very different at the time, but just something about it caught on. And yeah, I loved it. But for you, you said previously, you weren't that big of a fan of FX. So SM now debuts their next girl group. Were you anticipating it at all? And what caught your attention?
I was largely not just an FX fan. but I was largely
A
not.
hater.
You can call me a hater. I'll take it. But I was not an SM fan. Okay, yeah, I was straight up an SM hater. I did not like SM Entertainment.
Okay.
And it was mainly because of the way that they treated their idols with the slave contracts.
Yeah.
But it was actually around the beginning of third generation, 2015, when they had a large cultural shift in the treatment of their employees.
Yeah.
And Red Velvet was coming off of that. And when they first debuted, I thought it was just another SM girl group, right? I did like the song Happiness.
Yeah.
I loved Ice Cream Cake.
Ice Cream Cake's great.
But what really got me was in 2016, I happened to be in Korea at the time for some Nugu groups that I was a big fan of.
Yeah.
And Red Velvet had released a song at the same time called Russian Roulette.
Ooh.
And when I saw them perform that song at the music shows, when I saw the music video of that song, I just took me out. Couldn't stop listening to that song. Just loved watching the dance. Everything about the group just clicked for me then. And like I had already been a fan of like I said, Ice Cream Cake, Dum Dum. I was all over the place when I was in Korea at one point. But yeah, I happened to be in Korea at the time when Russian Roulette came out and everything about that, the concept at the time, man. So the Russian Roulette music video and a lot of the performances, one of the concepts and outfits that they were wearing were the pleated tennis skirts.
Yep.
And when that song came out, oh my gosh, everyone in Korea had a pleated tennis skirt.
Really?
It was crazy. So it had a huge impact. I don't know if it's necessarily because of that song. Maybe it was just a fashion trend at the time. But I like to believe it had something to do with that Russian Roulette song.
It's crazy you mentioned that song. When I think back, I think that might be the first Red Velvet song that I really loved. Again, I said I liked Happiness. When it comes to that song, it's mostly the bridge I remember. Ice Cream and Dum Dum were good, but Russian Roulette I really loved.
Yeah, and Russian Roulette, I have to say it, Russian Roulette is what actually made Red Velvet the first time in my life that an SM girl group was at the top of my list.
You hate to say it.
I hate to say
You
it.
hate to say it.
I was not an SM fan, but Red Velvet, at one point they were my ult.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you ask me what about Red Velvet grabbed my attention,
Yeah.
obviously the members are great, but their concepts, I really love their concepts. We did mention some songs, Ice Cream Cake, Happiness, Dum Dum, Russian Roulette in particular. We both just said we love that. Do you have any other songs that you want to recommend?
Yeah. So first one I would recommend is Bad Boy. I feel like that's one of my favorite title tracks of theirs. Very iconic song, I think, at this point. And I loved Seulgi's red pants in the music video. Something about that style. Also, maybe one of their best title tracks. I want to mention Psycho. It's another one of my favorites. Maybe my favorite. And the reason I want to mention it is because they didn't really get to promote it properly. Number one, you had Wendy's accident at the SBS year-end show. And then we went pretty much kind of into COVID. So they never really got a chance to promote the song, which I think is a shame. It's a real shame. And I think Red Velvet are known to have really good B-sides. So I wanted one of my 3 spots to be a B-side. And my favorite is You Better Know. I love that song. I actually still haven't seen them perform it live, and I want to one day, but those are my 3. Bad Boy, Psycho, You Better Know. What are yours?
So you mentioned Psycho, and yeah, that's also probably one of my top 3 Red Velvet songs. Bad Boy also probably
Nice.
one of my top 3 Red Velvet songs, along with Russian Roulette.
Yeah.
So those probably round out my top 3. But I have to recommend probably their most popular song in Korea, Red Flavor.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We have to say it.
Yeah.
And I think they actually went to North Korea and performed that song.
Yes.
So it's not just the South that likes it.
They crossed the DMZ.
It crossed the DMZ.
They crossed the DMZ.
Indeed. And the Supreme Leader himself
Oh my gosh.
enjoyed it. But yeah, when it comes to Red Velvet, I think they may have the greatest B-sides of all the SM girl groups.
Yeah.
aespa's actually come pretty close now, but I think Red Velvet's still at the top. So I'm going to make Red Flavor my honorable mention because I think we have to mention it.
Okay.
And you already mentioned Bad Boy and Psycho. So thanks for getting those off of my list. So I'm going to recommend 3 B-sides.
Okay.
I'm going to recommend Mojito.
Ooh.
That was also off of the Red Summer mini album, which contained the Red Flavor song. I want to recommend LP. That is off of the Reve Festival finale album.
Yeah.
Really big fan of that. And if I had to recommend one more, I absolutely love this song. It is off of their most recent, I believe it's the most recent release, Cosmic. That's the name of the album. The B-side I'm going to recommend is Love Arcade. And I think I like Love Arcade more than the title track. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, Red Velvet just has amazing B-sides.
They do. Well, you had an honorable mention. I just want to slip one more in there, just to kind of round out the sound that we've been recommending. One of These Nights. Much slower, more of a ballad. And I think it shows a different side of Red Velvet, especially from the songs we put out there as well.
When that song was released, it was quite controversial.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Because for a title track to come out with that type of style,
yes,
was really ambitious.
Yeah.
Adventurous, courageous, a little risky. All these adjectives.
That aside, I love the song.
Yeah, another good one.
I like it when the title tracks are not just the upbeat, in-your-face kind of songs. So I appreciate that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially for a girl group from a big agency. So how would you rank Red Velvet amongst third-generation girl groups?
Come on, Ellis. Come on.
I'll tell you mine first.
Tell me yours first.
Personally, for me, they're my favorite third-generation girl group.
Really? Okay.
Hit you with that one.
Dang.
I didn't think too hard about it. Maybe there is one that like a new group that may somehow sneak it to the top. But like I said, Red Velvet at one point was my ult. So
I don't like dealing with absolutes, but I think if I were to think of my favorite third generation groups, Red Velvet's going to be heavily on my mind. I mean, at one point, I was so into them. I was watching videos about each member's relationship with every other member. You know what I mean? Like I just delve so deep into the members, into their music, everything. I love them. So yeah, they're if not their top, if not the top, very near it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the concepts where they bounced from the red poppy fun sounds to the velvety smooth R&B-ish tracks. Those are like some of my favorite genres. So almost all the music that they were putting out, I just absolutely loved. And for me, when it comes down to it, it's just about the music, and really loved Red Velvet's music. They would continue to release many hits, but as you know, SM is a publicly traded company and still a business. So a new girl group needed to be formed to maintain their dominant presence in the industry. In 2020, at the height of the coronavirus pandemic, SM Entertainment would debut the 4-member girl group, aespa. The members consisted of Karina, whose real name was Yoo Jimin, Giselle, whose real name was Uchinaga Eri, Winter, whose real name was Kim Minjung, and Ningning, or Ning Yi-jo. aespa has a very unique concept, to say the least. Some might even call it bizarre. The group would change the entire SM worldview and create the world Kwangya. Kwangya was the founder Lee Soo-man's final vision before eventually being forced out of his own company. How did you feel about Black Mamba when it first came out?
I really liked it. If we're just talking about the song itself, I really liked the song. I really liked the choreography. I remember this was during the pandemic, so we were getting a lot of performance videos. You know, there was not really a crowd for them to perform in front of, but I actually think Black Mamba is a bit of an outlier compared to their subsequent releases. I feel like it's less bizarre than what will come later on. That's to me. I feel like Black Mamba, relatively speaking, is a bit more traditionally a song than their next releases that would blow up anyway.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It was maybe a little bit more of a gateway song.
I think so. But that's just me. What was your perception of it?
When Black Mamba first came out, I did not like it.
Really?
When
Really?
I created my top 100 songs playlist of 2020,
Yeah.
Black Mamba was number 100.
Okay. Wow.
I just sneaked it in because I liked aespa a little bit.
You liked aespa
A little bit.
a little bit. Okay.
So I wanted to put Black Mamba in my top 100 list.
Just because you liked them a little bit.
Remember, I was making this list at the end of 2020.
Yeah.
The song came out, I believe, at the end of like mid-November or end of November of 2020.
Yeah.
They had just debuted.
Yeah.
I was not entirely a fan of the concept, I have to say.
Well, the concept, I feel like the concept, that's a different
It led
conversation.
into the song as well.
You think so?
For me,
Okay.
it wasn't until a few months after that I really started to enjoy the song.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just like, it's different.
It was different than a lot of things that were out at the time. Yeah.
Remember, I was a Red Velvet fan.
Yeah.
At the time, I really liked Luna. I really liked G-Idol, Stacy.
Yeah.
But aespa was just dropping, what is this?
Yeah.
It's like almost nonsense. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But as you said, the dance, spectacular.
The dance is cool. Yeah.
Top tier. It was so funny watching people drop down.
The drop.
And the lyrics, again, I'm a big lyrics guy.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by what is this nonsense?
Okay.
Right? But watching the 1-K videos and the other videos about the song really made me enjoy the lyrics.
Really?
But it wasn't until I realized what was happening.
Okay.
This wasn't just a girl group. This wasn't just music. This was theater. This was a space opera.
Yeah.
When Next Level came out, when Savage came out, when Girls came out, couldn't get enough of it. I realized that this is the pinnacle of SM girl groups. In a way.
Let me ask you this. How do you feel about Black Mamba now?
I love it.
You love it now.
Classic song.
Classic song.
Classic song. It's the introduction to the theater.
Yeah.
Again, like this whole cinematic universe that they created while Lee Soo-man was there. And it was just so interesting to me for some reason. It's a little campy. It's a little like not super fleshed out.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's super fun. And when you hear their future songs like Next Level, Girls, Savage that I mentioned earlier, and you hear the progression of the song and the lyrics to accompany that progression, it's like a mastermind came up with this. And the music that they come out with now is not the same since Lee Soo-man left, but it's still fun.
I agree.
But yeah, at the time, again, when Black Mamba first came out, I really wasn't sure about it. But yeah, I absolutely love it now.
And that's so interesting. I don't think we've ever talked about your initial reaction to Black Mamba. So, oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I've thought about going back to on my playlist, that top 100 playlist, and moving up Black Mamba a little bit.
No, keep it there. It's history.
At the time, I didn't like it, so. And we mentioned it earlier, but aespa also introduced the concept of Kwangya. So Kwangya is essentially a metaverse world that Lee Soo-man wanted to create, and he brought all the SM artists into this world. So after Kwangya was created, Lee Soo-man started these annual concerts, these New Year concerts, where essentially SM towns and a lot of the artists would perform, and they actually fleshed out a little bit of this Kwangya situation. Even the SM headquarters is now called Kwangya.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Kwangya?
I didn't mind Kwangya. I thought it was probably kind of cool. A very Lee Soo-man thing to do. Push everything forward, change things up, especially with technology that's at hand. I think the only part of this that I had a strong feeling about one way or the other was their virtual counterparts. Do you remember this?
Of course, the I girls.
Yes, the I girls.
Karina and I Giselle.
I think Kwangya and integrating everything about SM into this universe, that's cool, that's fine. I was kind of sitting back and seeing how that develops, right? But it was the I members that I didn't care for, really.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, you mentioned that there's very Lee Soo-man. Like, Lee Soo-man, I feel, was always very forward-thinking.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons I feel SM has had such a competitive advantage over the other companies. For instance, Beyond Live.
Yes.
That was Lee Soo-man.
Right.
He was thinking ahead. They created Beyond Live. And now they have this streaming service for concerts, right? Even the music with him and Yu Young-jin, I Got a Boy, we mentioned earlier, very forward thinking.
Very forward thinking.
Now we're looking at it and it's like an amazing song. We mentioned it in a previous episode, something about Amber's debut, her music video, also in a way forward thinking. I think the I characters, the avatars, maybe a little bit too forward thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years later, when it's a little bit, the technology has reached a level where the true vision could be replicated, maybe it would work.
Yeah.
But I think the way that it came out was just a little bit undercooked.
I think it's so much. Like you're introducing Kwangya, you're introducing all these things, or you're introducing a new girl group. It was a lot, and
you got 4 members, and you got another +4.
You got another 4 member, like yeah. So
what is this? A convenience store? It's a 4+4.
But it being S.E.S M.I.L.K, I would give it the benefit of the doubt. Like at the time, you know what I mean? I might not care for it at that time, but I'll sit back and I'll let him cook. I'll let him cook and see how it goes. But in that moment, it wasn't something I gravitated toward.
Unfortunately, now that Isuman's kind of out of the company, I'm really questioning what's going to happen with Kwangya.
I'm surprised it's still...
There hasn't been a lot of progression in the universe.
Yeah, I think it's something that just kind of fades away a little bit.
Time will tell.
Maybe.
It wasn't just Kwangya, and it wasn't just their music, but the members themselves have had a pretty large impact on the industry. In particular, one of the members, Karina, her visual kind of defines the generation.
Yeah.
We got Winter, probably one of the most beloved idols. We got Ning Ning, also absolutely loved by everybody. And then Giselle, like, hot girl.
Yeah.
Just love her. What is it about the members that you think people really resonate with?
Here's what I think it is. Like you said, Karina's visuals are often talked about. She looks more AI than their AI characters, right? So just unreal.
That was the topic. That was the thing. Like, is this an AI?
Yeah, like there's no way. She caught attention the moment she stepped on stage with Taemin before they even debuted, right? That's how much attention just her looks got. But what I think resonates with people is, in contrast to those unreal visuals, in my opinion, the members of aespa are one of the goofiest set of idols in K-pop. They are so weird. And I say this with love. It's why I love them. And I think it's why a lot of people like them. You have people who look just stunning. And then behind the scenes, they are cracking up at the quirkiest things. I think Ning Ning has a lizard. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? They're always making just dumb jokes. And
I think he's liar.
I think he's a liar. Like these little memes that take off and then they step on stage and it's like, boom. They're aespa, right?
Right.
I think that's what endears me to them. And it's amazing that they're together because it just seems they are absolutely made for each other. You know what I mean? Their goofiness feeds each other's goofinesses. I don't know if that's a word.
Exactly. The chemistry between the members, like Karina and Winter, they're kind of opposites in a way, but they get along so well.
Yeah.
And then, whereas Karina and Winter are like opposites, you got Karina and Giselle who are like peanut butter and jelly. They just get along. And of course, Ning Ning is just the beloved maknae, right? So, yeah, I think I might have to agree with you there. I didn't actually have an answer for that myself, so
okay.
I'm glad that you came up with something nice. So I gotta ask, who's your bias?
So I gave you an answer for Girls' Generation. I gave you an answer for FX. You forced that answer out of me for Red Velvet, although that was the answer. And for aespa, I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry. I gotta draw the line somewhere. aespa, I don't have a bias. I maybe go through phases. You know, this is Karina's era or whatever, and I'm into Karina during this time, or it's Ning Ning.
Right now is like Giselle.
Right now, Giselle's killing it right now, right?
The pink hair.
The pink hair is just, it's got everybody in a chokehold.
It does.
Yeah. So for this one, I'm going to say no bias, but I'm going to ask it right back to you.
Karina.
Right. I didn't even finish the question.
Karina. Karina from day one. Karina
day one.
Day minus whenever that Taeyang performance was. Yeah, but it is super difficult. Super difficult.
Yeah.
Because, like you mentioned, their personalities are all super lovable.
Yeah. Lovable. That's a good word.
They're so lovable. Especially, like, I would have to say my top two are Karina and Giselle.
Mm-hmm.
I think they get along so well together. Whereas, like, Karina and Winter, they kind of, like, are very playful towards each other.
Yeah. I mean, there's practice videos where Karina's just dragging Winter away. Like,
exactly. Again, they're like, their personalities are a little bit opposite, but, you know, like a magnet, right? Opposites attract.
Yeah.
Whereas with Karina and Giselle, they kind of just like, they just build off of each other. They feed off of each other. They're like same age friends, right?
Yeah,
So again, they all have such great traits. Obviously, Winter and Ning Ning's voices are absolutely out of this world. I think outside of like Taeyang, they're probably the best vocals for me in SM Entertainment.
Ooh.
Obviously, there's Wendy too.
Right.
So it's hard to say. But like you listen to Winter and Ning Ning in particular during the Savage ad libs, just like battling each other with those ad libs.
Oh my gosh. You listen to Ning Ning's pre-debut stuff. She was going crazy.
Exactly. And, you know, Ning Ning was the only member out of the SM rookies to make it out.
Yeah.
So she has that feather in her cap. Karina's voice is very underrated.
I love Karina's voice.
Yeah.
I love Karina's voice.
The deeper,
Yeah.
sultry R&B
Especially when
voice.
she's singing.
Yeah.
You're right. And it makes sense why it's underrated. She's in a group with, like you said, Ning Ning and Winter, right? So it's going to get overshadowed in that aspect.
Right.
She makes it up by stealing the conversation in other places. But yeah, underrated voice.
Yeah. So I have to say, as a whole, I think aespa is possibly one of the best. I don't know if I'm scared to say it. I think they're the best SM girl group.
I would be scared to say it. I can't.
It's really hard to say because obviously SM Entertainment has Sonyushide,
Right.
Girls' Generation. As far as success goes, obviously the top three are Sonyushide, Red Velvet, aespa. But for me, personally, I think aespa is number one.
Wow. You just take after take in this episode.
I just said it. I said it straight up. aespa. I mean, you look at the vocals.
Yeah.
You look at the visuals, you look at the personalities, you look at the music that they come out with.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing that's kind of holding aespa back, I think, from being the best SM girl group is that Sonyushide feels like such a huge monolith that you cannot get past. But on all aspects, aespa has overall more enjoyable music for me personally. So where Girls' Generation had amazing title tracks and Red Velvet had amazing B-sides, aespa kind of combines amazing title tracks and amazing B-sides. They have the amazing vocals, like I mentioned earlier. So yeah, for me, I think aespa is one of the most successful girl groups that SM has ever had. And I think the only reason why they can't surpass Sonyushide or Girls' Generation is that their music is a little bit confined to their concept. They will come out with songs like Spicy or Better Things or like the OSTs.
Yeah.
But for the most part, their music is pretty much confined to that futuristic type of sound. So I think that's kind of what limits aespa from really truly becoming the greatest SM girl group. They're, for me, the greatest SM girl group personally.
Yeah.
But I think, generally speaking, for the general population, it's going to be hard to beat Sonyushide with the music that they're coming out with.
To me, it's going to be hard to beat Taeyang and Wendy. I might even throw Sogi in there when it comes to vocals. But if anybody's going to do it, it's probably Ning Ning and Winter. The only thing that would keep them from people considering them the best SM girl group is just time. They're 5 years into their career. Girls' Generation's already, they're not done, but their days as like the top group in the companies is basically...
Do you think there's even a chance though? Because I don't know. Even 5 years down the road, I don't know if aespa can surpass.
I don't know if it's likely, but...
Yeah, I think it's the concept.
You think it's the concept?
I think it's the concept.
It will hold them back for...
I think the concept propelled them, but will also limit them.
But don't you think with the departure of S.E.S M.I.L.K that their sound and their concept, it's a lot more diverse now? I feel like they're not so into that box anymore.
I mean, you had Drama, then you had Supernova, then you had Armageddon, then you had Whiplash. It doesn't really, it's not that different.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you put those songs side by side.
Again, like I said, they did have Spicy and that EP along with Better Things, but that was when S.E.S.M.I.L.K was still there.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the concept, again, it's like high floor, low ceiling.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, could be a topic for the aespa episode.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you to recommend some songs.
I'm going to keep Live My Life out of it because I already discussed it in my top songs of 2024. So I'll keep that out.
Yeah, I'm making the recommended songs from our podcast playlist.
Ooh, okay. Is Wiggle Wiggle on there? Come on.
If you tell me to put it in there, it's going to be in there.
All right. We've already mentioned things like Next Level, Savage. So maybe I'll throw something different. Life's Too Short. Yeah, Life's Too Short. I enjoy that song. It's not the aespa sound that everyone's used to, but I enjoy it. I like the members' voices in it. Illusion is a B-side I love.
I mean, technically, it's a pre-release single.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I would have recommended that track. Yeah, I love that track.
Illusion, I love that track. Fun fact, I saw their very first performance of it in the US at aespa's showcase in LA.
Oh, I wanted to go to that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Oh, something Ellis didn't see that Justin saw. The tides are turning. But yeah, awesome. Amazing to see the members. And it was cool to see because that event, it wasn't just songs being performed. It was them answering questions, playing games, which, endeared me even more to them. And man, let's go full circle. Their rendition of Dreams Come True, I love that. I love that so much. I love it bringing back an older SM song, putting their new twist on it. And I love that Boa was the one that kind of helped them bring that to life. Yeah. What are your songs?
See, this is my Justin moment.
Oh, let's go.
Because I don't think there's a B-side for aespa that I don't like.
Ooh.
I love literally every single song. Out of fourth generation, my no-skip groups are Stacy and aespa.
Really?
And Eugene's, I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Eugene's has far less music, though, but...
Now I got to play the Ellis role, then. Give me a few.
I'll give you 3.
Okay.
And then some honorable mentions.
Some honorable mentions.
I'll try to keep it short. The first one I want to recommend is Lucid Dream.
Oh,
it's an R&B track. It's so, I don't know, watching it live. Really love that song. The lyrics, love that song. I want to say Energy. Energy.
Yeah.
It's Energy.
Energy.
It's the perfect hype song. It's like a roll call, right? In the middle of the song. Mm-hmm. Like Karina, Rocket Puncher, Winter, Armaments. And they go through like the members and their superpowers or whatever they're, You did mention Life's Too Short, right? But I want to mention off of that same mini album, I See You.
I See You.
I See You, when they performed that for their first tour as one of their ending songs, hits so hard.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Really good song.
I want to say Hold On Tight, but maybe I'll make that my honorable mention.
Welcome to my world, Ellis.
I'm going to throw Welcome to My World. Yeah, you just gave another song.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, got you. I got you to give me another one. YOLO. YOLO. Yeah. That's such a fun song.
That's actually come up a few times during this trip because we pass this building on our walks to, the subway station and stuff. It just has the word YOLO on it. And it never fails. Someone in our group will sing that song.
Exactly. Don't Blink is another good one. And I will recommend one more. Maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 3. Salty and Sweet, Thirsty, and Till We Meet Again. All off of the 3rd mini album.
All those are so good.
The Spicy mini album is probably my favorite mini album. We have some friends who really hate Spicy. I don't know why.
I love Spicy.
This mini album was absolutely incredible.
So all 3 of those songs you just sped through. Oh,
yeah.
Amazing.
So we'll keep it at those 30 songs.
Let me throw one more in. You briefly mentioned it earlier. Forever.
Oh,
it's just
right.
Just something different. I love Forever. I love they have a video where they perform it. Love it.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, this week, on Monday, February 24th, SM's fifth generation girl group Hearts to Hearts debuted. And they would be the first girl group to debut under SM Entertainment and SM 3.0 since the founder Lee Soo-man's departure. Hearts to Hearts consists of 8 members, the leader, Jiu or Cheju, Carmen, who is Indonesian, and forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly, her full name is Nyoman Ayu Carmenita. Hopefully I got that right.
I would have never tried to attempt it.
Yuha or Yuharam, Stella or Kim Dahyun, and Stella is Canadian, but to all my Canadian brothers and sisters out there, the main dancer, Jun or Kim Jun, Aina or No Yuna, Ian or Jung Ian, and the maknae, Yeon or Kim Nayeon. We watched the music video, Chase. What did you think of the song?
I actually really liked it. I felt like the first time we watched it, in the beginning, you don't really get a grasp of what the song and the structure of it is. So it's kind of foreign territory. It's a little bit random sounding, I guess. But as we were going through it, I was liking it more and more and more. And then when we watched it the second time, I was like, no, I really like this. I think it's solid debut. What did you think?
I agree. When we first listened to it, the very first thought that I had watching the music video was, this is giving Luna.
Yeah.
The intro of the song really reminded me of Luna's Why Not? And as the song progressed, I started to get those New Jeans vibes that people were thinking about or talking about.
Yes, I could see that.
But then you hear the vocals and you got that typical SM sound.
Yeah.
The ad-libbing, the up and down and up and down, up, down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down. Yeah, those type of ad-libs in it. And the way it was just structured and put together was pretty enjoyable. We've only listened to it a few times so far. So obviously this is just some initial thoughts. But I like it.
I liked it. Really liked it.
Have any of the members stood out for you?
Yes.
Can we get an early bias warning?
I get an early bias warning because I'm sure as time goes on, the list gets more and more vague. So, we've been watching teasers and the individual teasers will show up on TikTok and things like that. So initially going into it, I already knew who the leader was, Ju. Plus she had short hair, so it kind of differentiates her. And then the main dancer, Jun. And she's also visually distinct because right now she has lighter hair than the other members. So I don't know if it's because of those factors that they stand out. But again, I kind of gravitate toward leader. So when I knew she was a leader, I just naturally, my eyes will follow to see what she's doing. But we watched it the second time. And Ian is the one that started catching my attention. I think she's the one that people say looks like Karina. But I don't really think about that when I saw her in the music video.
I don't see it.
Yeah, for some reason, she's the one that kind of stood out naturally instead of me already knowing. You know what I mean? For you, who is the one or who are the ones that stand out?
Right, it's so hard. Fresh group, I literally just learned the names and I'm sure it could change once you actually learn their personalities. I don't know anything about these girls. The only thing I've seen are the teasers and the music video. So who caught my attention was the leader, Cheju, and the main dancer, Jun. And I think that might be intentional, how they cut Ju's hair.
I was thinking that too.
How they made the main dancer's hair lighter compared to the other members. But one of the members that caught my eye, at least initially, is Stella, the Canadian.
You mentioned it while we were watching.
Yeah. But again, I don't really know anything about them, so who knows what could happen. But yeah, I like the song. You like the song?
Really like it. Wait,
this was a hit in the Lemon Zest.
Yeah. Oh,
I like the song. Do you like the song? Yeah, Hearts to Hearts made their debut February 24th of 2025 with the song Chase. Let's move on to Prospect Patch, the premier fortune-telling news agency. So Justin, my fellow editor-in-chief, what is the future Hearts to Hearts related headline you are going to be writing tomorrow?
I'm going to peel back the curtains and let you know I struggled with this one because it is so wide open. It is so wide open. But sometimes you asked me for the article headline, right? Sometimes headlines aren't this just happened. Sometimes it's a discussion piece. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do like a discussion piece headline. And the headline will be netizens or fans, whatever you want to substitute right there, discuss why Hearts to Hearts hasn't caught on as quickly as aespa did. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of surprising. I actually thought before watching the music video, I might write a more negative headline.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching the song, I actually really think the song's pretty good.
Oh, I love the song.
So I wanted to do something. I feel it's a little basic to say that they win like Rookie of the Year or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're an SM girl group. It would be a surprise if they didn't win Rookie of the Year. I don't want to say that they're not going to win Rookie of the Year. And that's not usually something that's written as a headline, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say is going to be something like this. Hearts to Hearts will have their first music show win on the weekend of March 7th. So March 7, March 8, or March 9, I think they will have already won at least one music show.
Very specific.
Because that's when Music Bank, Music Core, and Inkigayo will play.
Yeah, very specific. Very...
I think they will win M Countdown.
Okay.
So by the 7th, I think they will have won.
Right away.
That's my prediction.
Okay.
I actually am not sure this is going to happen.
Part of this segment is just kind of throwing something out there that it could be crazy as well, you know?
Yeah.
We've said crazier things in the past.
Exactly. And I think right now, the current winner or leader, the fastest girl group to win is IVE.
I think. Yes.
So they came out with 11, and immediately after on Show Champion, they won.
Yeah.
I think the timing for this doesn't line up where they will beat IVE, but I still think they will win on their first week.
Okay.
I don't actually think that. I'm just going to predict that.
Okay.
Because it's hard for me to say with just a few listens that we've had so far.
I love that you said your initial ideas were going to be more on the negative side. And now it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Immediate win.
Before the song came out,
yeah,
just from the teasers, I was a little bit down on it. I was thinking like this might not be good.
Yeah.
But after listening to the song, after seeing the visual, like before the debut, there were so many comparisons about, oh, they're just copying New Jeans or they're just copying this or they're just copying that. But watching the song, watching the music video, it's not a copy. It maybe has maybe a bit of inspiration, or maybe it's a bit similar in some ways to some other things that have been done in the past. But if you think about it, most things are just reiterations of, like, in any aspect, right? It's not just music.
Yeah, I never take these things seriously when, like, oh, they're taking a concept from this group or that group. Unless it's just extremely blatant or just so similar, I never take it super seriously, because it's gonna be a little similar. When you're creating music, you want it to hit. It's got to be somewhat what's popping off at the time.
Yeah, trends.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm also the type of person who's a little bit skeptical, right? Like I mentioned previously.
Yes.
When EXO came out, I was like, oh man, I'm a Shiny fan. And then when NCT came out, I was like, oh man, I'm an EXO fan. You know, it's kind of that mentality. Yeah. So your headline was?
So my headline was, netizens discuss why Hearts to Hearts has not seen the same success as aespa.
And my headline was, Hearts to Hearts will win their first music show, essentially the first week that they're eligible.
Yes.
All right. A little bit differing opinions.
Very different.
A little differing. Okay. We'll see what happens. We'll see if any of them happen. Honestly, neither of them might happen.
Yeah.
So let's move on to 10 years ago today. "10 years ago today, coincidentally on the same day that Hearts to Hearts debuted, February 24th of 2015, the artist S.E.S.M.I.L.K would officially part ways with his longtime agency, YG Entertainment. What do you know about S.E.S.M.I.L.K?
S.E.S.M.I.L.K was probably the first male soloist that I was a fan of.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it would make sense when I explain it, because I said Big Bang got me into K-pop, right? And when you watch Big Bang behind the scenes, and when you watch the documentaries that they had at the time about them coming up and becoming a group, one of the mentors that they had consistently was S.E.S.M.I.L.K, because he was already there, right? The Big Bang's first kind of experience on stage was basically backing up S.E.S.M.I.L.K. So that's how I knew S.E.S.M.I.L.K. Also, around the time I was getting into K-pop was also around the time he was making his big comeback with Digital Bounce featuring Top. And then they kind of changed it to Better Together, which I love that song.
Oh no, Digital Bounce, no.
You don't like Digital Bounce?
I don't like Digital Bounce, but Better Together is good.
Better Together, I think the switch was smart. I think that's the better song. But yes, S.E.S.M.I.L.K. You asked if I was familiar with S.E.S M.I.L.K. I'm very familiar with S.E.S M.I.L.K. His song, I'm Going Crazy, I might categorize it as one of my favorite K-pop songs of all time. It's just a song I can listen to all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you have any connection to S.E.S M.I.L.K, or were you a fan at all?
So I don't know how much you know about Seven's history, but I was a Rain fan.
Yeah. We're talking a lot about quote unquote arch nemesis today.
Nemesis. Seven was the arch nemesis of Rain.
Yes.
I mean, that's arch nemesis might be a little bit.
You know what we mean.
Yeah. But they were essentially the competitors of their time, and I was the Rain guy. I was not a Seven guy. And yeah, I don't really have much to say about Seven. I know who he is. I know what he's done.
You don't like Digital Bounce.
And I don't like Digital Bounce. So yeah, on February 24th of 2015, S.E.S and YG Entertainment would officially part ways. I mean, there's a lot of things about S.E.S that I can talk about, but I don't think it's really worth getting into that discussion about.
Yeah.
The next headline I want to talk about is on March 1st of 2015, Taeyang of Big Bang would complete his 2015 solo world tour titled Rise. Now, as a Big Bang fan, I'm sure you have something to say about this world tour. Did you actually see this tour at all?
I did not. I was not going to concerts until 2 years later.
Was this tour on like DVD or anything though?
Yeah, I saw those.
Okay, yeah.
The beautiful thing about YG Entertainment is they also release concert albums. So I love listening to those as well. So that was probably my experience with this particular tour. But I talked about some firsts today. Red Velvet being my first front row concert. I didn't go to this tour, but Taeyang was my very first K-pop concert. 2 years later, he would go on his White Night tour, and that I saw in Dallas. And not only was it my first K-pop concert, it was my very first ever K-pop idol interaction. Shall we get into the story?
Yeah, I know this story. This is a big one. Let's get into it.
It's the reason I've been chasing this high ever since. It's the reason I go to K-pop concerts now. So obviously, first K-pop concert, I don't know what to expect. Let's fast forward, concert, great show. Me and my friend were walking out of the venue, going to our car. We see this just a group of people around the back of the venue. I don't know what's going on. Friend doesn't know what's going on. We traveled here. We drove a long way to get here. We're here. Let's just see what's up. We go, it turns out they're in front of 3 black vans. It's like, okay, context clues, they're waiting for him to come out. But now the question is, which van is he going into? Now it's kind of a gamble, right? I think we switched 1 or 2 times, right? Because we're not sure, if he takes this path. Eventually, we just have to pick because it's getting more crowded as people are exiting the venue. We are in front of the barricade they have set up now. Right? I am an arm's distance from that van. Another thing I realized is it takes a long time for them from the time they wrap up the concert to the time they come out to the van. It takes a while. That's another thing I learned. Let's fast forward maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Not sure. It felt very long. But we know he's about to come because the security guards then tells us, all right, when he comes out, don't touch him. Don't reach at him. Don't do anything. You guys can wave and scream, whatever. Just don't try something. Okay, cool. I cannot see the door because I'm right in front of the van, right? I cannot see the door, but I hear screaming. He's out here. I don't know where he is. I don't know what car he went to. I don't know if he's still just, signing something for fans over in that direction. But I hear the door close and I see, because these cars, the windows are very tinted, but I see a figure come in the car. It may be him. It might not be him. I don't know. All of a sudden, remember he's arm distance from me, right? Oh, the van is. The window rolls down. Me and Taeyang are face to face, closer than you and I are right now. Closer than you and I right now. The Taeyang from Big Bang who got me into K-pop. This is my very first K-pop concert. I remember in this moment, all I can think about is the security guard saying, don't touch him, don't reach out, don't do anything. So we are so close, but all I can do, I just put my hand up and I wave like this, just like a little boy, just like, hi, like just hi. But I think because number one, I'm right in front of him, and number two, it's all fangirls, and then it's me, right? So he sees me, I wave, he reaches out to shake my hand, I reach out, I shake his hand, softest hands I've ever felt in my life, right? He just moisturized, or his hands are just naturally like that. I like to think the latter. Shakes my hand. At that moment, I am swarmed because now the what the security guard said, it's out the window, right? We are no longer reaching at him. He's reaching at us. It's all fair game, I guess. My hand is still with him, but I'm backing up. I let go as the girls swarm me. At that moment, the van goes away. My first K-pop concert, my first K-pop idol interaction. I've been chasing the high ever since. Amazing day.
What an incredible story. Like before a certain period of time, it was like impossible to even dream of that type of interaction.
Right. I was about to go home because that's not a thing. Why would I? That's not even a possibility in your mind, you know?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Great story. I love it. I think that's like my fourth time listening to it. I still love it. So again, March 1st, 2015, Taeyang completes his 2015 world tour titled Rise. A little bit shorter today, but I think we came up with some good YG ones for you to talk about.
Yeah, and I was able to mention Big Bang once again.
Mission accomplished.
And tell that story once again.
10 years ago today. Today, we reviewed the history of SM girl groups and discussed the recent debut of the newest SM girl group, Hearts to Hearts. Based on what we've seen so far, what do you think we'll see out of the new group going forward?
Man, based on the debut music video that we just watched, I'm really looking forward to seeing them perform it now. I'm looking forward to hopefully what you said is true, that they get the wins, that they get the success, and then see what's next. No, I just want to see this promotion now. I'm super excited to see this promotion.
Now you could be like me, where you go back in time 5 years from now. Oh yeah, I was in Korea when so-and-so was performing the song.
Oh my goodness, you're right. You're right. I look forward to that. What do you think? What are you expecting to see?
I'm really not sure what to expect, honestly. We have been seeing them around a little bit, like Mega Coffee.
Yeah, it's cool to say that now.
Yeah, their imagery is on their doors. Listen to the song. It sounded good.
It's great.
So far. Really curious about the performances and looking forward to a lot of those performances. But yeah, I don't know what to expect. You know, I just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I think right now I'm just looking forward to this promotion now that we've heard the song.
However, SM Entertainment has never had a top girl group twice in a row until Red Velvet and aespa. Right? We had S.E.S. and then S.E.S Success, S.E.S not so much. We had The Grace, not so much. Girls' Generation, top tier. FX, mid tier. Red Velvet, among the top tier. aespa, top tier. As we mentioned earlier, this is SM's first girl group since the departure of their founder, Lee and the right-hand man, Yoo Young-jin. How do you think this bodes for Hearts to Hearts?
Here's where I get to elaborate on my prospect headline a little bit. I know it sounded negative, but what I meant was I don't think they're going to see the same trajectory that aespa saw. aespa had S.E.S M.I.L.K behind them, pushing, like we said, pushing concepts, pushing technology, pushing a world with aespa, right? And so on top of the members, on top of, you know, how much attention Karina's visuals got, you had all these things, the I members, the virtual aspects of it, all these things that caught people's attention. And then you had these songs, these crazy songs that popped off as well, just one after another. While Hearts to Hearts, while we both really liked their debut song, I don't think it's as attention grabbing or it's as jarring as when you first heard Black Mamba, right? So I think aespa just had a lot of things that grabbed people's attention right off the bat. That's not to say that Hearts to Hearts can't get to that level. I just don't think we'll see the same curve. I think it might take them a few more comebacks. I feel like aespa, they just had it was just this storm of things that popped them off real quick, right? I think Hearts to Hearts, it'll be a more gradual build, and they could reach the same level as us. They could surpass aespa. That's not like, that's in the cards. We already like what we saw, so it's entirely possible. We already see them on the streets of Korea. But I think the absence of S.E.S.M.I.L.K will slow that trajectory down just a little bit. That's what I meant with my headline. And that's what I think the effects are without S.E.S.M.I.L.K. What about you?
So again, I mentioned earlier going into the music video, not really knowing what to expect. I had a more negative view on the group. I was thinking that they may not do so well. But as you can tell from my prospect patch headline, I think they will have some success based on the quality of the song. But the departure of Lee Soo-man and Yoo Young-jin really shows in this song. Because whereas pretty much all the previous SM girl groups were really pushing the boundaries of concepts, this group is more of a innovation of just current trends.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not really pushing anything. It's giving this vibe and that vibe of things that we've already seen.
Yeah.
So will they have success? I think they will have success. How successful will they be? I don't think they will be that successful.
Okay.
I think they will be similar to FX, where where they have good music, sometimes even great music, but I'm not sure they will reach that level of aespa, Red Velvet, SNSD.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can make it.
Yeah.
But again, it's only been one song.
It's only been one song.
It's only been one music video. The performances are just starting, just getting to know them.
Yeah.
Don't even really know how the general population feels about this yet.
Yeah.
It's going to take a few months and then we'll get a better sense. But yeah, as for now, we have a new SM girl group.
So far, so good.
Thanks again, Justin, for joining me today.
Absolutely.
You have any final thoughts to finish off today's episode?
I really enjoyed Hearts to Hearts debut. Can't wait to see what's in store for them. Can't wait to see the performances while we're here in Korea. I hope they do see the success. And mulgogi means water meat.
That's all for today, Friday, February 28th, 2025. This has been Diaries of an MZ Generation, and it's hosted by Ellis Tan and Justin Lee. This is a production of Selective Hearing and is a part of the Selective Hearing network of podcasts. Edited by Ellis Tan and Greg Abesamis. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.